he never stood a chance. And we're walking to our deaths. Well, now I can't stop it here. Going on a walk through Shibuya finally helped things sink in. I finally came to terms with just how horrifying the earthquake that had hit the city truly was. Not a single trace of the once dazzling city remained. The city was dead. Shibuya was not a city of death. Or now it was. Countless unmoving bodies littered the streets, some lying alone, others piled on top of one another. Various sections of the main road were deeply stained with pools of blood. Nothing was alive. Everyone was dead. Everyone. Hatano-san had said something earlier about the casualties being in the thousands, and the sole cause of all this suffering was Noah too. This wasn't a natural disaster. It wasn't even any kind of disaster at all. This was an atrocity, a massacre. Sena, who was just a few steps ahead of me, had an intense look of sorrow on her face. Hatano hadn't come with us. We left him behind at the Nozomi Technology Building. They were father and daughter, apparently, but they didn't really act it. It felt like Sena had some sort of one-sided intense hatred toward her father. They had mentioned Sena's mother and younger sister during their conversation. What happened between the two of them? Whatever it was, it must have been what led to Sena's heart and mind being broken. Despite me wondering that, I didn't plan on asking for some detailed account of what had happened or anything. Not that I knew how to in the first place. Besides, our number one priority at the moment was obtain the cheat code. Once we had that, I wouldn't need Sena to protect me anymore. I'd be able to live on my own. Suddenly, a rumbling sound came from behind me. Thinking it was another earthquake, I immediately got down on my hands and knees, but the ground wasn't what I was shaking. I slowly and cautiously looked behind me, toward where the Nozomi main office we were just in should have been standing. Smoke was pouring into the sky. It looked like the end result of an erupting volcano, and the building that should have been there wasn't there. God, had it collapsed? But Hatano-san was still in there. A small whimper escaped Sena's lips. She looked up at the smoke filling the sky in a daze. After a moment, she noticed my gaze and quickly turned the other way. However, her shoulders continued to tremble. Once we got our hands on the cheat code, we could do that. There was no reason we couldn't, as long as we believed that what God had said. Sena laughed to herself, but her voice was muffled by her tears. I didn't really know what to say to her, so I just hung my head. Sena fought back her tears for a while, but eventually, as if she'd made up her mind about something, she started moving forward once again. Now, not a single tear remained on her face. I hurriedly followed after her. Underground Shibuya Station was home to both the Hanzaman line and the newly constructed Fukotoshin line, which had a far more complicated structure to it. There was also a Ginza line platform located 2 floors above ground, but it was still treated as a subway service. Ask pretty much anyone, and they tell you the place was pretty much like a dungeon. And not only that, but the earthquakes that caused all stairways leading underground to collapse, and now they were all buried in rubble. Sena had been able to use her D-sword to blast away the rubble and clear a path for us, so it hadn't posed much of a problem, but due to the lack of proper lighting, finding the right coin locker had been taking a lot more time than expected. And if that weren't enough, the air filtration system had stopped, leaving the air disgusting and filled with dust. My coughing refused to stop, to the point where I felt like I was going to die, and the stench of death wafting off of the scattered corpses, it didn't help either. Sena had finally located the coin locker, which was somehow standing tall with no signs of any noticeable damage. To our astonishment and subsequent relief, the locker still had power running to it, something that was made clear by the bright glow of the IC card reader. Please make a selection was displayed on the screen. Retrieve and deposit were the only two buttons available. No. No. The locker had been there since before the earthquake. A whole bunch of customers would have passed through here before us. On a normal day, no one would have paid it any mind. So many people actually used lockers like these in the first place. I couldn't imagine there'd be that many. Upon closer inspection, it occurred to me that almost all of the other lockers were buried in rubble. And behind that single closed door was something beyond imagination. Urban legends like that had been floating around for decades. It wasn't especially strange or anything like that. It was just fairly grounded in reality, actually. A small container that you could find very easily throughout your ordinary life, housing something extraordinary. That was the idea behind it. When I pushed the retrieve button, a message popped up saying, "Please scan your card." Despair. Sena took out her IC card from her pocket and slowly approached the screen. With an electronic beep, the sound of a lock releasing came from the locker. The sound echoed ominously throughout the dead silent underground. Sena and I stood anchored to the spot, and then we both checked our surroundings. We'd at last come face to face with the cheat code. What form it'd take, neither of us knew. Please don't let it be something gross or anything gory. Personally, if I had the choice, I'd want it to be a Seraton figure. Yeah, that'd be the best possible outcome. Sena wiped off the sweat beading on her brow.
1009番だったな。
Yeah. You're gonna die. Hatano's dead. The locker we were looking at was the second from the left, and third from the top. The door was fairly big, and it had 1009 written on it. The locker was ever so slightly ajar. All we could see inside that slight gap was uncertain, unending darkness. Sena and I stared at the locker, frozen in place. "You open it." Even though she didn't say it out loud, I could feel Sena telling me that. Granted, I was doing the same thing, and so we were both equally cowardly. "Come on, you do it," I told her inside my head. I thought about letting a game of rock, paper, scissors make the decision for us, but it wasn't the time to mess around like that.
Sena
Should open it, was what I was going to say, but I was interrupted.
開けろ、西条。
Okay, fine. Sena took a step back and readied her sword.
もしもの場合は、私が援護する。
Fair enough. What the hell do you mean, just in case?
急げ。
Okay, fine. I still felt like she was gonna stick me with the tip of her sword any second now. My throat went dry from the anxiety, but my recently unearthed hope resurfaced once again. If I surpass this trial, I can become a hero. With this adage etched upon my heart, I summoned all of my remaining courage. I placed my hand on the half-open locker door.
開けるよ。
Yes.
あ、
I slowly opened the door. Final guesses. It's Nanami's hand. It opened easier than I expected. And inside I found... I was joking.
なんだ、これは。
Oh, I don't like what that is. I don't want to know what that is, but I don't like what I'm seeing. Okay, It is white cloth, stained pinkish red, and it's covering something. It is small enough to fit in the locker. This better not be a child. Sena and I peeked into the locker at a loss for words. A white bundle of cloth? It was bigger than I expected. But right when I reached out to touch it... It's a child. I pulled my hand back in a panic at the sudden voice. It's... No way. It's...
赤ちゃん
A baby? A live baby had been in the locker? I mean, it had been decades since then, but abandoned children being found in coin lockers had been a fairly large social issue at one point. Wait, really? Seriously? There would be... People would do that? Actually, to be fair, I've seen people do worse. But, wait, that was a big social issue? Well, now I have to look this up. Actually, wait, I probably don't. I don't want to get traumatized. Somebody in the comments will probably explain this serious issue to me. But for it to be happening now? Wait, that didn't matter right now. Where was the cheat code? I double-checked the locker number. It was unmistakably 1009, so that must have meant... Sena gently picked it up as it continued to wail, handling it like a fragile object that would fall to pieces if she let go of it. The baby's cries grew louder and louder. Sena grimaced as her body stiffened and locked in place. She looked at me with pleading eyes.
西条助けろ
I don't know what to do. Also, I can see the color of their hair. Wait, no, that's... Yeah, that is the color of her hair. At first I thought I was mistaking it for Sena's shoulder, but no, that's like a tan? Like a very, very, like, dirty blonde?
どうしたらいいんだ
I don't know! Well, why ask me? I think you should let it suck on your tits. Yeah. Sena, you didn't bash his head in hard enough.
死ね
Thank you. Her glare pierced through me. Had she overheard my delusion just now?
多分この赤ちゃんがチートコードだよ。
How so? I mean, if we thought about what they said... If the baby was a cheat code, it wouldn't activate unless we destroy... No. Destroy it. In other words, kill it. I went silent, and Sena glared daggers at me. She shielded the baby with her arms.
できない
Obviously.
できるわけないだろうあの地震をこんな暗くて狭い場所でたった一人で生き延びたんだぞ
それはチートコードだよ。地震が起きた後にここに現れたんだ。それは人間じゃない。そう見えてるだけで。
You are being blinded by your pathetic desires for a fucking cheat code to fix your life. You have to be a certain level of heartless to feel nothing for wanting, for just thinking about, oh, it's clearly just the cheat code. We gotta destroy it. I'm sorry. You have to be a certain level of heartless to fucking just not care.
あの自称300人委員会の言葉を信じればなもし違ったら
Right.
あるいはもともとここに置き去りにされていたこの子に後からチートコードだけを埋め込んだかもしれないんだぞ
I cowered at Sena's horrifically menacing look. Even so, I frantically shot back my rebuttal without looking her in the eye.
だってしょうがないじゃないか。それを壊さないとチートが。
If I lost a Sena here, I'd end up losing the cheat code, and I'd stay an otaku freak for the rest of my miserable life.
この子に触ってみろ西条 この子のぬくもりを感じてみろ。
Also, it is very fitting for Sena to have this sort of reaction. She lost her baby sister. So, this is actually kind of another level of, like, emotional torture. Like, whoever arranged all of this knew what they were doing, and they're just, in a way, tormenting and abusing Sena's emotional state and all that. Imagining, like, this is like a second chance, in a way.
こんな小さい子、お前は殺せるのか？
Asking the real questions. Of course I can't! I'm completely harmless. That's why you need to do it, Sena. But I couldn't actually say any of that.
セナは矛盾してる。ここに来るまではやる気満々だったじゃないか。世界は電気仕掛けなんでしょ。だったらその子も単なる人形だ。
Then so are you. You ever think about that? Hmm?
でも泣いてる。
Sena gently embraced the baby. She had such a tender and loving expression on her face. I couldn't believe she was the same ill-tempered girl from before.
この子は今泣いてるんだ、西条。
She was a total mess. Had Sena been just a complete fucking schizo all along?
チートを発動させてノア2を壊さなきゃ君の家族だって生き返らないぞ。なんでためらうんだよ。
この子が生きているからだ。殺せない私には。
Oh no. Sua! And I can hear I can hear the porters.
Huh?
A thunderous roar. Unsure of what just happened, I reflexively crouched down. Staying like that, I took a look around me and spotted a single silhouette standing outside the Fukotoshin line ticket gate. They were gripping something that looked like a gun, and they were pointing it in our direction. Sena croaked, and when I looked over at her, I saw her hands covered in blood. But it wasn't hers. It was coming from the baby she was cradling. The white towel the baby was wrapped up in was turning crimson.
死んじゃう。私は見殺しに。
Sena's entire body trembled violently.
相変わらず自分の射撃の腕素晴らしすぎっすよね。
So heartless, he has no problem killing a baby. But then again, your partner has no problem cutting out her own baby. The man continued to walk toward us with the most casual smile on his face. On his back, the man wore a rucksack that clashed heavily with his suit.
こんなところで何の相談してるんすか？っていうかその赤ん坊なんなんす？もしかしてあれっすか？二人の隠し子できちゃった？最近の高校生はなってないっすね。ま、別にどうでもいいっすけど。自分は君たちを始末しに来たんすよ。ノア2の近くで目障りなことされると困るんで。
Sorry, I'm getting mad. Was he related to Nozomi? I felt like I'd seen him somewhere before. He was carrying a gun. Normal people didn't carry a gun. He was gonna kill us. We had to run.
さて、それじゃあまずそっちの危なっかしい通り魔女子高生から始末しましょうかね。
The man raised his gun and pointed it directly at Sena, but she didn't react at all. Still clutching the baby, she had broken down in sobs. What do I do? We've got the cheat code now. What the hell do I do? I should be invincible now. There's no way I can protect Sena. If I'm invincible, then I can be reckless and stupid and be perfectly fine. Why, did you finally realize that it was all a lie? I had shielded Sena. A fierce pain exploded in my chest, followed by a burning heat that felt like I had caught on fire. My uniform was stained in blood. I'd been shot.
おーっとかっこいいっすね西条匠くん身を挺して女を守るなんて男の鏡っすでもそれもいつまで持つかな
Each time a gunshot ripped through the air, another bullet opened a hole in my body. My blood splattered everywhere. The pain eroded my nerves. Sena was still frozen in place, looking at me with tears in her eyes as she cradled the baby. Over half of the white towel was now covered in a deep shade of red. I could no longer tell if that blood was mine or the baby's.
西条違う違うこのままじゃ
チートコードを使って。
でも私どうしたら
This wasn't good. I was gonna lose consciousness. It hurts. 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 I never asked to go through pain like this. With the cheat code, I should be invincible, but if Sena isn't activated, I'm gonna die. I could feel him getting closer to me. I could sense a sinister bloodlust overflowing from him. Something cold and solid was pushed into my back. It felt like my wounds were being grilled over hot coals as that cold sensation clawed through them.
よく頑張ったっすねでもこれで終わりっすこの至近距離で心臓をズドンとやればさすがのギガロマニアックスでも死亡確定っすから
セナ早く
Sena can only continue to cry. This is it. After all that grind to get the cheat code, none of it mattered in the end.
くたばれクソガキ
The sensation on my back suddenly disappeared. I thought I'd just been shot, but it wasn't a gunshot that I'd heard. It was the sound of the air itself shaking.
俺の腕が
Did you lose an arm? White feathers shimmered and danced through the air, but we were underground. There shouldn't have been any birds here. Despite my consciousness turning foggy and the pain ripping through my entire body, I slowly managed to turn around. And there I saw...
リミ
Hi!
タク
Clasped in her hands was a sword so elegant, so beautiful, yet its form was unendingly sinister. I'd never seen anything like it. It was Rimi. Rimi, who had disappeared on me before, was here. She looked at me with a smile filled with sorrow. A large quantity of blood poured from the man's arm. Everything from the elbow down had been severed. The hand holding the gun rolled around on the ground. Had Rimi done that?
もう 様。俺の手をよくは。
ナナちゃんにひどいことしたくせに。
Nanami. Rimi avoided my dumbfounded gaze. She simply stood in front of the man shielding us.
早く外へ。事情は大体理解してるから。ノア2を壊して。葵さん、タク。
That sharp voice brought me back to my senses, but when I tried to move, even just a little bit, I was tortured by unrelenting pain. I wanted to collapse on the spot. I didn't want to move. I didn't want to think, but most of all, I didn't want to die. My consciousness was fading. I was fully aware of the blood flowing out of the wounds covering my entire body. Despair and the fear of death threatened to overwhelm me, but I fought them back and held on to Sena's shoulders.
行こう。今のうちに。
すまない日常。私をかばってそんなに。
Sena's eyes were clouded with tears. It was the first time I'd ever seen her crying face. I guess even level-headed women like Sena cried sometimes. I noticed something else as I held her shoulders. Her body was incredibly frail. I was sure that wasn't unique to Sena. It probably applied to all IRL girls, really. Her body was slender as well, something guys also didn't share. On a normal day, she exuded an aura of confidence, arrogance, and so much overwhelming vigor. It felt like she could crush me with it, but at the end of the day, she really was still a girl. It'll be alright. Don't cry, Sena. If we just use the cheat code, it'll heal all these wounds in an instant. It has to. Believing that, I grit my teeth and walked forward. You're gonna be surrounded in despair, my dude. Behind me, I heard this sound of a strange mechanical sound and a shrieking resonance entangling with one another, but I refused to look back anymore. Oh, Sue lost an arm. Poor baby. We should make him lose the other one and make it match. Make him all symmetrical. We made it above ground. A trail of blood marked the path we walked. I'd lost a lot of blood. The intense heat I'd been feeling in my wounds had been replaced with an unbearable chill. No matter how much I tried to keep it under control, my body kept violently shivering. My teeth wouldn't stop chattering. Looking up, I saw the planetarium standing before us, but the moment I did, I realized something was off. The surrounding buildings had almost entirely collapsed, and the ones that were still standing were covered in cracks and fissures, and yet the planetarium was completely intact. And not only that, but I thought the building was supposed to have been demolished years ago. But it still stood in front of me. Why? Why hadn't I realized this until now? Why hadn't I questioned it earlier? Was this because of some Gigalomaniac's powers? Or was it Noah 2's doing? At any rate, the reason I noticed must have been because of the cheat code. Now I must just need to activate it, and then we should be able to destroy the planetarium. Without me supporting her any longer, Sena fell to her knees. She was still heartbroken.
Sena. チート使うんだ。
Even talking was agonizing now. Sena looked back and forth between me and the baby, making her look like she was shaking her head no. But all she did besides that was tremble. I was running out of time. My vision was going blurry. If we didn't activate the cheat code, I was going to die.
日常しっかりしろ。こんなのって死なないで。 師匠、世界は天気仕掛けなんかじゃないんだ。私はただ思い込みたかっただけ。母さんと妹を見殺しにしかできなかった自分が許せなくて、気持ち悪いと吐いてしまった自分が許せなくて。二人が死んだのも、父さんがあんなことしたのも、全部信じたくなくて、感情だって捨て去りたくて。だけどダメなんだ。どうやったって父さんを憎んでしまうし、母さんや妹の死んだことが悲しいし、自分が許せないし。この子死なせたくないんだ。
Damn it. I couldn't rely on Sena anymore. I had to do it on my own. Somehow. I reached out my hand to the bloodstained baby Sena was cradling.
貸してそれを。
But Sena refused to let go.
ダメだ、師匠、やめろ。
もう死んでるよ。
Taking charge, I wrestled Sena's hands away as she looked at me in horror and forcefully grabbed the baby. She broke down, crying. Ignoring her wails, I clutched the baby. Cheat code. Activate. Lend me your power. No. Suddenly I noticed it. A strange color, shrouded in faint light. A shining sword was lying at my feet. The sword. Forgetting all about the pain, I took hold of it. Despite being so long and gigantic, it was shockingly light. It was almost like I was holding nothing but thin air. I now knew for sure. This was a real D-sword. It was no fake. Ah, damn, cheat code. To think I finally got my hands on a D-sword this easily after struggling to get one for so long. Summoning all my remaining energy, I stood up. My wounds hadn't healed, but I was invincible now. Wounds this bad just took a minute to heal, that's all. Sena was utterly useless now. I destroyed Noah 2 myself. I felt power overflowing from deep within, from the very core of my body. It felt like there wasn't anything I couldn't do. I had obtained power rivaling that of God himself. I brandished my sword. My target was the planetarium, illuminated ominously by the surrounding light. He's diluting this.
壊してやる。これで終わりに。
A gunshot echoed throughout the air. Blood spewed from my chest. Soon after, I was hit with an intense pain. For a moment, I stopped breathing. My vision went black. I had an awful feeling writhing in the deep depths of my throat, and the taste of blood sped through my mouth as I coughed violently. That guy from earlier. Had he shot me again? Had Remy failed to hold him off? I looked around, only to be absolutely astonished by what I saw. There were tons of people, all crowded around me and Sena. They all had dead eyes. They all were holding guns, and they were all aimed at me. Every single one of them was whispering something. Probably something to do with the divine light.
信仰の救いあれ信仰の救いあれ
Called it.
信仰の救いあれ信仰の救いあれ信仰の救いあれ信仰の救いあれ
セナ先生
They all fired in unison. Countless lead bullets penetrated my body, boring out my flesh, slicing through my bones. I was assaulted by impact after impact. My body danced around by an order not my own, just like a marionette. The pain stabbed at my consciousness. It felt like I was going to pass out.
No.
Even still, I desperately kept standing. My D-sword was still raised high, held aloft in one of my hands. I'll destroy it, I prayed. I'll destroy Noah too. No matter how desecrated my body is, I won't die. I can't die. I swung down. The D-sword drew a trail of red light. A brilliant flash burst into the night sky. The blade of light tore through the endless night and descended upon the planetarium dome below. Only to be deflected by some unseen force.
嘘でしょ
It was like there had been some sort of invisible wall. The light emitted by the D-sword was reflected, refracted, and dispersed. Silence. Sena. Me. And the people who had been shooting at me. We all simply stared, dumbfounded. Even with the cheat, it didn't work. Was Noah too indestructible? I'd try again. I couldn't let it end like this. I coughed up blood. Greasy sweat stung at my eyes. I could barely feel the pain anymore. My senses were already starting to disappear. My nerves might have been paralyzed. One more swing. I'm strong. I'm the strongest in the world. My strength stat should be so high, it should be absolutely OP. So I just need one more swing. I raised my sword overhead.
信仰の救いあれ
Along with the woman's scream, they fired wildly once again.
西田
Sena covered my body with hers. I guess Sena had saved me this time.
セナ
私も手伝うよ
Sena tightly, ever so tightly, embraced my blood-soaked body. She grasped the hand I held my D-sword with. Sena's body was so warm. Hell, it was closer to hot. It had to be the heat of her blood, drawn out by the gunshot wound she'd suffered just now. The heat of the pulse of life that ran through her body. Not as bloody as I expected they'd be.
お前の覚悟ちゃんと分かったから壊そうその子のためにも壊そう二人で力を合わせてお前だけ死なせないお前だけ無茶させない
Good music, by the way. Also good artwork.
私とお前を 運命共同体だ。ずっと一緒だ。死ぬ時も戦う時も一緒だ。もうこんな悲しみの連鎖は止めよう。復活とかそんなのどうでもいい。
There we go.
自然の摂理に反することはするべきじゃない。
This feels like Umineko music.
私はただもう憎しみも悲しみも見たくないんだ。こんな世界を見たくないんだ。お前が傷つくの見たくないんだ。だから一緒に壊そう。
Are their D swords gonna combine?
あの全ての元凶を。
Sena's voice rang throughout my fading consciousness. So she'd finally come back to her senses, huh? Completely exhausted and covered in tears, she shielded an otaku freak like me. And now she was covered in blood. We were both dyed in deep crimson. But I really did feel her passion. Her voice really did reach me. Together we raised the D-sword high. I could still hear gunshots firing around us, but that wouldn't stop us anymore. My power was overflowing more than ever before. I felt a strong life force gushing out of Sena. With this godly power, we would destroy the machine that rivaled God on high. This time, for sure, we would...
行くぞ西条。
I nodded. Together with Sena. Damn! Friggin' Getsuga Tensho up in here! We swung the D-sword down with all of our strength. And right as we did, a flash of light burst forth. A flash of light that tore the very world asunder. A red light that ripped the night sky in two. A red blade that perhaps might even reach the moon. It blew away everything, turning it all to dust. Together with the invisible barrier surrounding Noah 2, the planetarium was reduced to ashes. A massive impact and shockwave burst through the city. It felt like my body was going to be torn apart. The people standing around us were blown away. Even so, Sena and I held each other upright. We both clutched the baby in our arms, shielding it. We'd use every last drop of power we had left. We didn't think about what came next. As long as we had the cheat code, our wounds would heal. So right now, all we needed to do was destroy Noah 2. With all our heart and soul, we let our power erupt. The sounds dissipated, and the light along with it. And in the center of that ruined city of death, Sena and I stood tall. Sena clung to my body. I leaned against hers, and between us we embraced the bloody baby. I couldn't walk another step. I couldn't make the slightest movement. I didn't have an ounce of strength left.
もういいんだ。悲しいけどもういいんだ。死んだ人を生き返らせるのなんてエゴでしかないから。チートコードを返そう。
I felt the same way. And because we were alive, we had to live on for the sake of those who had died.
ごめん。
Sena softly and gently embraced the bloody baby.
ごめん。死なせてしまって。ごめん。
Sena had cried a lot today. But compared to the usual girl who glared at everyone and everything, the girl whose weakness was on display right now was far more beautiful. Sena's flowing tears were so very beautiful. As those thoughts flowed through my mind, I looked up toward the night sky. Okay, so that was the Sena route.
エラーはすべて消滅。
What?
ノア2とノロセ源一の消去も確認したわ。
I'm happy to report that all errors have been eliminated. I've confirmed the disposal of Noah 2 and Norose Genichi. Wait a minute. Okay.
オリジナルの西条匠は確保済み。虫の息だけどね。
Oh no, they got Shogun.
コピーの西条匠および畑野瀬名は予定通り任務を実行後共に死んだわ。
Yeah, I figured. So they got
今後
killed.
も引き続き調査は続行するけど、おそらく畑野瀬名も西条匠もエラーは生み出さなかったんでしょ。
Wait a minute! I recognize that voice. Is that Momose?
それでいいんじゃない？私の仕事も減ったことだし。あ、そうそう。ついでに周りをうろちょろしてた天聖信仰会の信者連中も処分しといたから。先畑リミンには逃げられたみたいだけど、まあ、脅威にはならないでしょ。
No.
世界人間牧場計画の予定には若干の修正が必要ね。でも今回の一連のエラーは計画へと利用を還元できると判断するわ。
That's gotta be her voice! No fucking way!
結果的には300人委員会に何らの不利益も生じない。了解。デバッガード任務は終了します。
Put a stop to my debugging duties? Oh my god!
以後、監視者の役割に戻るわ。あら、この子、生きてるわね。エラーになっちゃうわ。二人が命を与えたのかしら。見なかったことにしますか。私は独身だし、子供はちょっと苦手なんだけど。ミルクは手に入るかしらね。この渋谷で。
They gave what remaining life they had so the baby would survive. Holy shit. Oh my god! Ooh! That was totally her voice. That had to have been. Oh! Sorry. Deus Ex Machina. Oh. She's in on it. Wait, was she the one that was... Role of surveillant. Was she the one that was messaging us this whole time? There's even more. There's a third party. There's a third party. Oh. Wait a minute. That opens up a Oh. Oh, wait a minute. Now that's got me worried about what the world is like. Like, she just left that baby that was given life by Sena and Takumi. Like, somehow they were able to revive that child. Oh my god. Ah! God. That's what makes this novel such a fucking pain. It has really good story elements. It really does. But the main character's a fucking degenerate fuck. Oh my god. Okay, I'm gonna stop.